What's up, YouTube? Tiny One Badger here, and how many times has this happened to you?
Oh my god, this fursuit head is so cool! But wait a second. It doesn't have any ears.
I know! Beetle Cat has an awesome tutorial on how to do ears. I've used it before, I can just do it this time! These aren't really as realistic as I was going for. I mean, they're kind of just flat and... got the little... No. This is not what a realistic ear looks like. The Beetle Cat tutorial is amazing, and I've used it on a lot of my fursuits before. Like, I've used it on Tiny Badger, and he's got 4 sets of ears. But the thing is, a realistic animal is going to have more complicated ears, and thus a 2D tutorial is not going to help you out anywhere near as much.
So, out of pure necessity, I've looked around and I've come up with a way to make fairly realistic looking ears.
The items you're going to need for this tutorial, and I'll put them in the description too, are Foamies to make the base of the ear, masking tape to get the shape of the ear, scissors and an X-acto knife. The X-acto knife is only needed if you use fur, some string that matches the color of your fur, a needle and one of these little pumpkin things that always seems to come with a needle, some chalk if your fur is black or if your foamies are black, a writing utensil to make the pattern of your ear, a nice little blank piece of paper to make your ear, and a nice big hot glue gun with glue sticks, lots of them. But lastly, you're going to need fur, and this fur just so happens to be from Mindle's. It's white fox. I'm not crazy about it. I know a lot of people do like it. I don't like the nap, but the long hair is really nice. The problem is when you shave it, you can kind of see the fabric underneath it if you're not very careful. To start out, it is completely vital that your desk be as messy as possible. And you're going to want to get a nice clean sheet of paper, you know, just a nice little blank canvas for you to project your ideas. And you're going to want to kind of figure out what shape you're going for. I just so happen to have already actually cut the ear out without filming it, but I kind of wanted to go for this kind of shape. So I'm going to be making a shape This is going to be the base of the ear, what the fur is going to go over. And you're going to make sure that you have this little triangle shape in it, so you get that nice bend. You see that? And this is going to look a lot like a deer ear. It's not going to be like a canine. If you're going for a canine, you'd probably want to fold it in a little bit. Okay. So you're just going to make a nice little shape of what you want your ear to look like. You know, you can round out the edges, make it all fancy. By the way, that's totally not necessary. Once you have your ear drawn out, you're going to want to take your nicest pair of fabric scissors. Seriously, don't do this at home. Get like a crappy pair of scissors. And just kind of cut out right along the ear. You do not want any excess. And then you've got a nice little cutout of your ear. So, that's what it's going to look like. Then you're going to lay down your foamies. I use one of these really thick ones, but you can pretty much use any kind you want. Now, you don't have to use black, and the reason I'm saying that is because, well, with black, you're going to have to use chalk. And you're going to want to flip the ear, and do this again. Next, we're going to cut our ear out and just go right along the lines. So again, grab your nicest pair of fabric scissors. Why am I doing this to myself? Totally optional, but not really needed, is a little bit of saran wrap to go around your ear while you're taping it up to get the pattern. And a lot of people wonder, oh, why do you put tape around that? It's so you just get a really exact pattern, so you're not, like, tracing it out on a piece of paper, you know? Like, now you get this nice thick corner as well. I mean, you could trace it out in theory, but I'm just not crazy about that idea. So, I'll see you when I'm done taping. Okay, I put one layer, I'm done. No, You are not done. Put like 5 layers on that thing. Make sure you can't see the color underneath it. Make this thing your... I can't say that on YouTube, can I? Anyway, well, what you want to do is you want to put like 3 or 4 layers on top of it, just so the masking tape doesn't rip apart and you lose half your pattern. This is a problem I could have avoided by using saran wrap. Why didn't I use saran wrap? Now that our ear's all nice and taped up with plenty of layers, you're going to want to draw kind of what you think your ear is going to look like. Usually an ear will have a nice little inner part right about here, and the fur is going to go upwards. And then it'll have these 2 little parts where the fur seems to go inward. And this would be the inside of the ear. So as you can imagine, when the ear folds, trying to fold this thing. When the ear folds, it has this fur going inwards. And the back is just going to be the back, but you're going to want to remember that the fur goes upwards towards the point of the ear. You know, remember a lynx, they have ears going that way. And of course, if you have like a complicated design, like a star and a circle or a dragon, then draw that on there too. But don't get too complicated. Airbrushing is always an option if you got a really interesting character design. But that's what the ear's gonna look like. Now for the fun part. You thought I was gonna use that X-acto knife? No, I've got one, dude. You're gonna have to cut all around the little lines you drew. And you're gonna wanna really cut into it. It's not gonna hurt the foamies too much, but if you do, I mean, it's just one. You can just recut it out if you don't like it. And then, this is why you do like 10 layers of tape. Now, you're going to have an issue doing this part. Like, it's going to be really difficult, and I'd suggest doing it on this side, just so you get more of an inner ear kind of look. Just to make your life a little bit easier, once you've cut out all of your little pieces, you could stick them down on a piece of paper. This is totally optional. And just trace around them to get a nice paper pattern that'll stay flat. But I like to take this point to signify if it was my right ear or my left ear. And you just keep tracing them out. Yay, I've got all my pieces cut out. So, you're gonna want to take your piece of fur, being very wary of which way the fur is going. Like right now, my fur is going this way, so I'm going to set it down and lie the piece on top of it. And now you can pin it down, but I've never actually done that. Like, that's also a very good option, and it works very well. I only use that on bodysuits, though. I don't really use it on ears. And then, if you want to, you can add just a little bit of seam allowance. And this will help you a bunch when you're sewing, trust me. And you can just add your seam allowance like that. And then, what you're going to do is you're going to cut around this line when you cut. Is it weird that I referenced the next step in the last step I did, but I decided to film a different... Never mind. Well, to cut it out, you're going to use an X-acto knife and just go around the edge. And this way, it keeps the fur from shedding everywhere. I mean, it'll still get all over your room, but now it gets a little bit less all over your room. See when I'm done? Oh my god, big thing, super big thing that I'm very sorry that I did not mention. Draw if it is your right or your left ear on this. It'll save your life. And then, once you draw it out, flip it onto this ear. So you get onto this side. So you get like a nice, so you get 2 ears. Like you get a left and a right ear. Now, you will not encounter this problem like I am if you chose a very short pile fur. But this fur is very long. So I'm going to take my inside piece, that's going to be the very inside of the ear, and trim all this long stuff so it's nice and short so you can get to see the real detail inside the ear. And you can trim this with shears. I just happen to use scissors. That tends to work out well for me. After doing a little bit of trimming with this inside, if that is what you're doing, you're going to take the little inside piece and you're going to take one of the outer pieces and then you're going to string your thread. Make sure you've got 2 strings. That just makes life easier. And I like to tie mine at the end. You can tie yours at the front too. I like the end because I feel like the knot doesn't get caught as much. because when you tie a knot at the front, I feel like it gets stuck in the fabric. That's not so much a problem with fur, but I still do it out of habit. And I like to get a nice big knot in there. I start at the top. You can start wherever you want. Make sure you cut your fur correctly. Make sure it's going in the right direction. And let me show you how to blanket stitch. You're going to take your needle through, and then this little loop you've just created, you're going to bring your needle through that loop. And you're just going to keep doing that. I like a blanket stitch because I feel like it's sturdier. It's also very bulky. So if you don't like that look, don't go for it. If you're using really short fur, keep your seams close together. That won't be as much of a problem with longer fur. But if you do trimming in general, try to keep your seams as close as possible. Why do I do this to myself? This isn't fun. This is not fun. Well, this is what your blanket stitch will start to look like once you get a lot of the sewing done. Once you sew the little this way flaps onto the short hair, then you're gonna just completely flip it inside out and sew all this together. Yay, I did one ear! Oh god, I've got another one. Now once you sew everything together, you may notice this like super ugly seam that goes on. Well, we're gonna take care of that. And now you're gonna have this gigantic puff ball. Remembering which direction is which, you're gonna put your little insert inside of the pocket you've made for your ear. Mine's a little bit long because I modified my pattern a bit. Try to get the seams to match up to the siding. You're going to fold it. Just kind of see how you like everything. Like puff the fur out, kind of shake it around a bit, and do trimming where it's needed. And I'll see you when I'm done with this. Ears trimmed, ears glued, we're ready to go. Or the veins are glued on, now we're going to glue the ears. So, you're going to take your nice fluffy ear, you're going to be careful at this point. You are very likely to burn yourself with a hot glue gun, reaching into areas you cannot see. So you're going to get some glue right on the outside of there, make sure it's not dripping too bad. And just kind of put it in here, being very wary of the fur. And now, you're going to kind of spot glue on the inside. This is a point where you really want to make sure that your fur is not thin and that you're paying attention to what you're doing. Because you really don't want to burn yourself. This hot glue gun gets hot. The little glue gun, they don't get quite as hot, but you're still up for some pretty bad blisters. Now, since I am doing a deer kind of ear, I'm going to put a couple dabs of glue right here on the foam and right here on the foam, and press it into that shape before I get it onto my fursuit head, just because I want it to hold that shape. Most of the time you're going to glue it straight onto the fursuit head, or you can just make them for a headband and you glue them straight onto the headband. Again, Beetlecat's tutorial is great for how to mount ears. And we now have this very pretty, realistic ear. Now this would be great for a unicorn, something like that. And I'm just going to let you see inside of there. Now a very nice, very realistic, very simple ear. Now with super cute, realistic fursuit ears, look in the description to find out a way to make a super cute, realistic looking fursuit head. Remember to join me next time when I tackle something, because I can't tell the future and I don't know why you'd think I could. Bye!